It's good.
Oh. All right, we're going to be launching on into it. I am excited to see how this one comes out. Runamok, of course, a player who has always looked up to those pros and really perfected a lot of his strategies. Let's see how good his practice has been lately. And I wonder if it's just as much of a surprise for Josh as it is for us going up against a Protoss when we were expecting it to be a Terran.
You're right. Well, we are in game one here for WCS Oceania Challenger, guys. I'm excited, really happy to get the games underway. In the bottom right here, he was Terran, now he's Protoss. This is Fuely, representing OCE Elite. Pig, you want this one?
And up here in the top left-hand side, in the green, representing Legacy ANZ, it is Runamok.
Chucking on that Legacy green. Legacy, for all you guys that are international, maybe you haven't seen, Legacy is one of those teams that's kind of come about and obviously gotten into. They've also gotten into a partnership with a big sports brand here in Australia. So the Adelaide Crows is a South Australian rules football team, which is obviously a huge brand, millions and millions of dollars. And Legacy's partnered up with them as their esports branch. So that's a really sick thing going forward into 2018. Obviously, this happened. This all happened last year, but it was wonderful news for Australia, where esports is always, a lot of people would always meme like Australia is where esports comes to die. But even on our sunny little island in the big south corner of the world, we are making strides in esports, and Legacy is part of the reason of that. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I mean, things are exploding here. And speaking of exploding, it looks like Runamok is saying, hey, buddy, we've got to launch a nuke here, right here on this ramp later on in this game.
I need to equip that spray. That really is a sick spray.
It is so cool.
There's a bunch of new stuff in the war chest as well, which has just come out, by the way, guys. The war chest in Season 3 to fund the BlizzCon, not fund, but to fatten the BlizzCon prize pool. So that's definitely worth getting. A lot of great skins. And also these sprays, which I'm starting to love more and more. I just never used to use sprays, but now I'm all about it.
Ooh, okay. I think Fuely has done something quite smart here. Has actually gone Cybercore before Nexus. And because of this being scouted, Runamok has been very afraid. And he's actually built his command center on the high ground. But because it was only one gas, I think this might be an overreaction from Runamok. I think he was thinking there might be a second gateway proxied out there on the map somewhere. But there really isn't. It's just going to be an expand behind it with slightly faster warp gate. Second gas goes down. Fuely's just going to be macroing up for now and could still go into some very fast, timing attacks and that sort of stuff. But it's just going to be basic, like Stalkers shutting down the Reaper. I'm actually kind of surprised the Stalker didn't even go across the map here since he did have it out so early. But so far, it feels like Fuely's just trying to make Runamok uncomfortable. And so far, so good.
I think it looks like the timing of that first Stalker kind of needs to be home because that's when the Reaper shows up. The second one's not quite out yet. You don't want to just have probes against Reapers, but I could be wrong there. We got the starport going down, so just a 1-1-1 opening here from Runamok. Going to go for a Widowmine drop by the looks of things. Super common, super regular TVP opening. Oh, Reaper getting caught by the Stalkers here. Going to get down. So that's a nice pick off there for Fuely. He's got a Twilight Council coming down on the back of this. Looks like a blink opening, but we'll see where he goes from there.
Yeah, definitely looks like it could be that. Another gateway coming down as well. These Stalkers are going to pressure, but that Widowmine's going to get in position. It's going to get burrowed if it burrows there. It is... Oh! The Stalkers actually don't see it, but they change directions at the last second there. Fuely realizes, there could be a Widowmine up that ramp. And that's a very fortuitous decision to go around the side there.
Yeah, I mean, wow. That's... If that's not a read, I don't know what is. It goes up into the natural. There's no bunker yet from Runamok, so he's going to take a little bit of damage here on these SCVs and these Marines here. They look to be enough to be able to bat these Stalkers, but the Stalkers can still kite, but he has to be careful of this Widowmine.
Ooh, good micro there by Fuely. Already getting a couple of SCV kills. He's going to blink and a Robo behind that. So, I mean, this is just... the most stock standard Protoss play just off a weird opening. Like tech choice wise though, you look at this, I mean, Runamok's going Raven. He thinks there's probably something going on, but he doesn't have any scouting right now. So I definitely feel like Runamok's plan here is just turtle, survive. He's going to drop a scan. He does see the Robo as well as the Twilight upgrading, and that's got to make you feel good as Runamok, because you see the tech, okay, pretty low chance of there being a DT shrine hidden anywhere. We've already got a Raven to cover that anyway. He knows there shouldn't be any options that are too crazy coming forward, and should be heading into his extra barracks soon, because that's the big cost of this very safe Terran opening. Is, yeah, you got a Raven, you got tanks, you got a bunker, you've got Marines. Where's the second and third barracks? You know, where's the engineering bays and the upgrades? It's your map control with the stim, the combat shields that really gets delayed. So it's up to Fuely to take that third, go into the double upgrades, probe up, and probably going to be looking to swarm with Charge Lot Blink Stalker in the mid game. Runamok's going to have to be very careful to not overextend with any of his pushes.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, we were expecting cheesiness from Fuely, and he is just going double Forge, third Nexus, going towards a strong mid game with eyes on the late game here, and that's kind of cool to see, actually, to be fair. Like, if he's you know, dotting his I's and crossing his T's right now as a Protoss player. He's doing a really good job of it, and just sending out those observers, chilling at home, being defensive, and there's those double Forge upgrades. Runamok sending out a spot of Marine here. A little bit of an odd path, though. I'm not sure what he's looking for. Maybe just trying to walk into the third base mineral line and maybe gun down a couple probes.
I think he's still so paranoid, right? Even though he saw the Robo in the Twilight, I think he's worried that Fuely's on 2 base. He's got it in his mind that Fuely is all inning right now, and he sees the third, but he doesn't see many probes on it, so he doesn't actually realize there's a whole bunch of upgrades on the way. And, you know, Fuely here is really just playing a macro game, and I'd love to see Fuely just stop here on this gas count, build a couple more probes at most, making about 6 more gateways, or it's already made a ton of gateways, and then just kind of macro up like crazy. There's already observers everywhere. The moment Runamok runs out on the map, charge lots from 2 sides, Immortals, Stalkers blinking forward. Like, for the next few minutes, Fuely has control. Once he gets 2 warp-in rounds out, he's got full control over this. And I mean, Runamok doesn't have any sign of a third command center, so he's looking like he wants to push on 2 bases. But if he doesn't wait to build up a big enough bioforce, he'll just get jumped on.
Certainly. And that's an easy pickings here for these Stalkers to outrange that Widow Mine. Ooh, nearly get the second under the Arbor there and pulls back. That Siege Tank, this Raven, that bunker, this isn't crackable for Fuely. And you can see that with this Observer. Now there's a second Siege Tank. It's just a little bit too hard of an ask, but he is going up towards Storm Tech. Charge is done, I believe. And it's going to be all about that next phase here for Fuely. The Age of the Stalker is starting to give way for the Age of the Archon and Storm, which is on the way. And there's that nice scan from Runamok. Sees the Double Forge, sees the Templar Archives as well. And he knows exactly what he's up against. But this contain on 2 bases, a little bit annoying, but it is going to give Runamok this really big push. But, you know, if this goes badly, Runamok is obviously going to be in a pretty bad spot.
These observers weren't retreated. One of them, actually, there were 3 all out front the natural. That's just bizarre. Fuely had 3 observers all watching the natural, knows this is coming. Look at the Zealot flank setting up, my lord. Oh no, I mean, there's not enough Marines there. Combat shields and stim are going to finish up, but it's mostly a siege tank army. Runamok has no vision. Yeah. He doesn't see the army. He's got to realize he's being flanked, Maynard. That's a huge force, but actually, Fuely taking too long to spring the trap.
Well, he's coming on down there, and the Marines aren't buffering for these siege tanks, so the charge lots are able to collapse all over the tanks, and they're going to be erased so quickly. Anti-armor missile on the charge lots. That's going to help these Marines out, but no medevac support. An auto turret coming down. This is not going to be enough from Runamok. There's way too much Protoss here.
Oh, very late on the stim from Runamok as well. And absolutely blitzed there. Completely caught off guard by Fuely, just doing a slightly off opening by doing the fastest Cybercore, the fastest Stalker, denying scouting, and Runamok just played a bit too scared there. Was absolutely blindsided by Fuely there, doing the surprisingly just, you know, straight up 3-base mineral saturation, masses of Zealots, and that style is tailored to shutting down 2-base Marine tank pushes. Like, you just have so many Zealots. If the Terran gets a bigger army, 150, 160, 170 supply, mass Zealots not so good anymore, but in those numbers, I mean, Zealots are all you need. You don't need Storm. You don't need even many Immortals or Sentries. We saw the power of those Zealots when they connect with the tanks. Everything disappears. Yeah. Very clean victory for Fuely. So I'm impressed, man.
Oh, absolutely. That was a very clean PvT win there. Pretty one-sided. Like, you know, you saw the big 2-base timing from Runamok, the all-in, and just completely crushed it. I mean, if Runamok maybe did a whole lot of damage with that push, then maybe the game continues, and, you know, we try and, you know, if he killed the 3rd Nexus, did a lot of damage to the army of Fuely, and then, you know, can knock Fuely back to 2 bases and put him into a bit of contain or something like that, then maybe Runamok can take a 3rd and it turns into a regular game. But as it stands, his army got crushed so convincingly that there really was no plan B there. So he had to tap out in the end. It's a very strong push, though. I can see it working against most Protosses. I've seen it before, certainly, but generally with a bit of medevac support in there, not just like the one Raven. But it is, it was very well read by Fuely. You know, his observers obviously saw it on the way out as they died. And he had that beautiful flank there. And Catalyst is the kind of map where you, as the defending player, have that high ground. And if someone's coming up the guts through that low ground, you have all the power in the world to set up a flank and have them not know a single thing about it. Also, guys, sorry about the, we had some bitrate issues before. We have acknowledged that. It'll be fixed when we can, but obviously continuing to broadcast the game is more important. Apparently it's fixed now. Great. Wonderful. There was a little bit of a delay there between us and you. This is an online tournament with a lot of money on the line, so obviously we need to have that delay to make sure that there's no sneaky sausages out there that are being too cheeky, too late for school. So we want to make sure everything's hunky-dory and legit.
Yeah, so next map is going to be Acid Plant here, and this is a situation where sometimes we do see someone change up, whether it be they go through a full race switch, Iago style, or as Fuely seems to be doing Protoss here, or they pick a different race. And what we're looking at in this series is a very common scenario where if one player is able to take control of the game, they can look just astoundingly in control, right? Observers saw everything, Stalkers shut everything down, and this reminds me a little bit of Haas's recent series, again, against a lot of Terrans, where he's gone for what looks like a kind of aggressive one-base play, but then he just expands. He hides a Stargate and just goes defensive Phoenix macro. And the Terran players play overly safe, and he kills them later in the game because he gets so far ahead. And the difference here, and I think what Runamok needs to pick up on if Fuely does the same opening, is that there was no second gas. So as long as you realize, wait a second, there is a Nexus going down, even though it's slightly delayed, there's no way there could be a proxy gate on my side of the map. I should just play a normal game. Don't play quite as safe. Still put some pressure on Fuely. Slow down the third or get your push going a bit early. Get the extra barracks going earlier. Something along those lines, and you can absolutely crush it.
Well, let's see if Runamok can fight back. At the moment, we got Fuely with a 1-0 lead here. In the top left, representing OCE Elite, it is the man in question. This is Fuely.
Nice big map for the Protoss player. Of course, down here in the bottom right-hand side, the Terran player in the green. He is Runamok, representing Legacy.
Mm-hmm. And I was pretty sure he was going to go for a Widowmine drop with that build there, but he was just sort of chilling with those Widowmines at home, trying to catch the Stalkers or catch any kind of like gateway unit giving him trouble, maybe Adepts or whatever like that. But it seems like Adepts aren't really the thing anymore. It's all about Stalker pressure. Usually blink openings with a robot to follow up have been super, super common in PvT. But
yeah.
It's kind of, I like Widowmine openings that are defensive, but you know what? I really like it when they load it up into medevacs and they go up to the probe line. Like, it's a little bit YOLO. If it goes badly, obviously, you lose a lot of resources, and Terrans already generally having a less working count than the Protoss because they have Quota Boost. They generally have a faster third Nexus as well. So if it goes badly, it is terrible, but I feel like it's tough for a Protoss to defend if they don't have like the most amazing mechanics.
Absolutely agree with you there, Maynard. Those worker-destroying mechanics, one of the best ways to get a lead in the game and a good way to just apply pressure consistently. So definitely something I'm a fan of as well. On Fuely's side, already just trying to delay the command center, but Runamok this time has a second probe down there. And yeah, last game he put the command center on the high ground. This time he is not going to be delayed, but look at this micro from Fuely, just trying to be so annoying. I think it speaks to his mindset here. He wants to throw Runamok off his game. He wants to tilt him a little bit, but Runamok, he's responded okay this time around. His factory is delayed by just a couple of seconds as a result of that harassment, but no big deal there. Meanwhile, the Nexus is well on the way, along with the second gas back at home, and very early Adepts coming across this map, actually chrono boosting. So looks like Fuely wants to go over there and put on some pressure, but the Reaper's on the way. So yeah, Stalker's being queued up after that. He's going to drop another chrono boost? I'm not sure.
But that Adept's missing this Reaper here, and there's no second gateway unit out yet. Is Runamok going to come home with that Reaper, or is he going to get some probe kills?
It's so dangerous to go in on this map because there's no way out. There's no jumping path. He's going to go through and look for tech, but the tech isn't even down yet. So, bounces himself with the grenade. That Reaper, and unable to get that probe. Great micro by Fuely. The Reaper running circles. Meanwhile, the Adept is already on the other side of the map. It's going to start creating problems for Runamok. And the command center's not done just yet. Fuely already throwing a spanner in the works to the green Terran.
Yeah, three-shotting those SCVs, down it goes, and now Runamok's Reaper out of position here, not able to get return kills. At least this Marine will kill a probe. So there's one worker each, but the biggest deal here is, like you mentioned, Pig, that CC is not done yet. That's being delayed here by this one Adept. Oh, don't let that in. There we go. So even just one Adept getting into the main is quite annoying because 2 Marines is not enough, and this Cyclone doesn't want to chase it down either. So it's going to come down to the natural. It is going to knock back this Adept, and the CC will finish, but it's still a very annoying start here for Runamok to have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, the Adept... Oh, my lord, the Adept goes in again. Fuely going for maximum annoyance.
Man, this is the kind of TVP that makes me log out and come back tomorrow, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's like... It's not even the most efficient maneuver, but gosh, it's annoying to have that command center denied once more when there's a Cyclone already out. And now the Reaper on the other side of the map taking damage. Josh barely pulls it home. Runamok, sorry, does barely pull that one home. And it is going to be Blink as the follow-up for Fuely, building a shield battery to make sure he is indeed solid against any Cyclone counter push. And once again, Runamok finds himself in an awkward position saying, what's going to come out next? I've got no idea what the tech is, and I think he's going to default towards the Raven bunker. But as I said in that previous game, this gives the Protoss a lot of time. So if Fuely takes advantage of this by just taking a third and probing up, I think he's going to be in a very similar position to game number 1 in absolute control of the early mid-game.
Yeah, everything looks really, really similar to the last game here, except Fuely delayed his command center by even more. You know, Runamok had to make his CC on the high ground last game, but killing his SCV twice while building it, delaying it twice on the low ground there was actually even more damage. So I feel like this is an even stronger start for Fuely in game 1 on Catalyst, and we know how that ended. Ah, okay. Runamok is going to switch gears here. He's going into a third CC, and isn't going to go for a big 2-base push. So, I mean, maybe he can pressure a little bit, but... Oh, this is actually nice. Reaper still being alive, delaying the third Nexus.
Yeah, that's always nice, just to buy yourself a few seconds there, because we've already got Fuely up at 43 probes, so every second that goes by, not going to be able to saturate that one as quickly as you would like. So I definitely think that's quite impactful. And with the third command center, I mean, I was talking about delayed combat shields and stim in the previous game. Well, this time third command center is before your second and third barracks. As Runamok, you have literally one strategic choice you can make. No matter what Fuely's doing, it's sit in your base behind your bunkers for the next 5 minutes and just defend, build a big economy, slowly take a third, and really go up into that macro stage of the game. And I don't mind it at all. I think it's a good way to get you know, into a good position in this game. Economy-wise, Runamok's already in a good spot. You know, only down 5 workers, but with mules dropping, that's always good for the Terran player.
Certainly. Oh, okay. Using that blink to avoid the Widowmine shot, but does take a good shelling on those Stalkers there. Yeah, once again, this is not a position that Fuely can crack, but no harm having a bunch of Blink Stalkers on the outside. They, you know, there's not like there's any drop play coming out of Runamok. He doesn't need to have these Stalkers at home right now to defend. There's no Liberator or anything like that, so why not just contain? Runamok is really being quite passive here. You can see that he is trying to have a greedier game here with that third CC. Like, he is trying to make a longer game out of it. But Fuely is going to slow things down here with those Stalkers. Runamok's about to have the kind of army where he can just move through it, though.
Yeah, just when that stim and shields finishes will be nice. Fuely, I've never seen a player so, you know, vigilant on the Terran side of the map with their observers, especially once they've seen a Raven is already out. It's always unusual, but just wants to make sure that he does catch everything out there, and even if one observer goes down, we'll have another. Is he going to go for the Raven snipe? Ooh, he's going to actually go for the Cyclone. Takes it down. Very good micro by Fuely and just blinks away. Free kill there, only loses one observer. The other observer's just to the north, though. It's been spotted, and he's not pulling it back, so I do worry for Fuely's map vision if all of these observers do go down.
Ooh, just got that Widowmine in the last second there. The observer on the right-hand side, seeing that the third base has been dropped, and Runamok is trying to gun down these Stalkers. He gets the Raven, though, and that's a very good pick-off there for Fuely. Not only getting the, you know, the Cyclone, which is 150 minerals and 100 gas, but the Raven, which is 200 gas. Big pick-off there for Fuely.
That's huge, and because his observer's still there as well. It's just sitting there, it sees everything, and that gives so much confidence to the Protoss player. Fuely here is still following the same format as last game, though. Just 3 mineral lines, no extra gases. But this time around, Runamok's in a more defensive stature, so I kind of feel like Fuely has to be the aggressor, or we have to see a 4th base extra gases and Storm go down. And it looks like aggression is going to be the name of the game. There is a Templar Archives on the way. Runamok actually scanned, and he's got a Marine scouting to the north. He's going to see this army coming in. It's very important that he gathers everything together. His army is very small right now, and Observer sees how small that army is. If I'm Fuely, I'm just going to jump on this right now, and I think Fuely has the same thought. That's just way too many Zealots, Maynard. The Stalker's diving forward. The siege tank disappears. This is a pretty good engagement, but the Marines coming in numbers. The Drilly Boys pulled off the line. They do manage to engage the Stalkers, and it looks like Runamok might just barely have enough units to hang on.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to lose a bunch of SCVs, but he's certainly got the job done there at that defense. He kills a sentry as well as an immortal before the recall as well. So while that looked really dicey for Runamok, I think it came down to how that engagement went through. The siege tank was already sieged, and his bio was wrapped around that tank as well. So the Stalkers needed to blink in to pick it off, and the Zealots could not close the distance. The bio shredded through that charge lot line, and we know, as playing StarCraft games in our time, that Stalkers are just not that great against +1 bio. So they did a really good job there of defending in the end, and holding on to that third gives Runamok a good chance to have a stronger mid game here.
Yeah, most of the Zealot charges I think were used on the buildings that were constructing the command center, so you're absolutely right. Numbers-wise, I think Fuely should have potentially been able to win if he fights in the open, but great defensive positioning by Runamok, and the Warp Prism wasn't there to reinforce. So now Fuely has kind of given up that big meaty mid-game army, and is going to be progressing into the Storm side. We've got the Warp Prism out. There's Storm finishing up. 2-2's going to be done well quicker here for the Protoss player. So still a very scary force, and Fuely's going to be looking for those aggressive engagements on the map. Meanwhile, Runamok actually going for a 4th command center here before adding on any more starports or anything. So it's going to be like a very Bio Ghost Mine style play. But right now, we've got a Protoss army posturing in from the north side, and this could be a big problem for the Green Terran.
Well, Wintermine softens up a bunch of these charge lots. Another Wintermine softening up the charge lots. And if he can get rid of the charge lots, there's definitely a chance for Runamok.
Oh, my lord! He targeted the Warp Prism!
Yeah, that means no reinforcements here on this army for Fuely. So either he gets the job done with this army, or he doesn't at all. Looks like Runamok also going for a big drop to the left-hand side.
Wow, what a huge... I think he must have manually targeted those Widow Mines. They just took out all of the Storm. Now the 4th base is in trouble. The main base as well, boosting right on in there. Stalker's starting to warp in, but Bio there with Stim is going to easily take those units out. Oh man, this is a really tough position for Fuely. Runamok trying to fight back now. These Zealots, though, with the +2 armor, +2 attack, not quite done for the Bio. It seems like the Zealots are going to be able to defend that. And the 4th base gets held as well.
Yeah, Runamok always going to lose a man back with some units in as well. That kind of sucks there for Runamok. Now, that really was quite a lot of army supply for not a whole lot of yield there. So Runamok, you know, had a good army supply advantage, and then at the moment it's not looking so great. Fuely is just playing so gateway here, so gateway heavy. He's like, what is splash damage? All I need is 1,000 Zealots and you know, a little bit of Stormy Boys at the back end. This is like Rotterdam style. This is how he plays PvT.
Yeah. It's a good way to play as well. You know, a lot of the Terran strength is in these units that need to siege up. The Widow Mines Liberators aren't particularly mobile, so whenever you catch them kind of out of formation, it's very difficult for a Terran player to stim the Bio, try to evade the Zealots while burrowing the Widow Mines and sieging the Liberators. And the thing is, if you let the Terran get up to lots of Ghosts, Ranged Liberators, they have an amazing late game. But right now, here in the Mobility Wars, the Stalkers, the Storm, the Zealots, the much more agile units, and we can see more and more posturing from Fuely, looking for an angle. Identical army supply, the upgrades are now tied up.
And he's got those High Templar inside the Warp Prism as well. If he can get that Warp Prism with the High Templar in there, that is going to be massive for the chances of Runamok. But that is so many charge lots. Widowmine softening up a few of them there, but he's out of Widowmines now. Big storms from Fuely. In come the rest of those Widowmines. He hits those High Templar, but they're still alive. And they're dropping mad storms. The Prism goes down. And the 4th base is under serious trouble. Does Runamok have the bio count here? And he has to pull the boys. Planetary goes down.
I think that's an overextension from Fuely. He was using all of his damage output to kill the Planetary before it finished, and while he does get it, he is going to lose his entire army in the process. Does get a lot of economic damage, evacuates the Stalkers, though. Now it's just about defending the counter swing. The upgrade advantage is there for Fuely. He's up with the extra attack upgrade, is about 1 minute away from an extra armor upgrade as well. Runamok, knowing he's got the army advantage, has to counter push, has to do some damage, but the fact that that 4th base survived the earlier counter drop is compounding in its importance right now. Runamok not even having the money to restart his own 4th command center behind this. It's all unit production for the Terran. He wants to get across the map and finish the game. Storm energy almost there. It's just kicked in. There's a couple of storms available. A new warp prism. If he lands the storms, this Terran army is going to crumble.
Yeah, he's got Ghosts here as well, so he's looking for those big EMPs. The charge lots are a second huge fiddle here. There's a massive storm there from Fuely pushing Runamok the whole way back. He does actually kill the High Templar here. His units are so low in hit points, though. The medevac energy starting to run out a little bit. Feels like Runamok does not have enough to crack this position. The big Colossus also holding on strong there. This is it for Runamok, I feel. If Fuely can clean this up.
He's got to drop in the main that's killed a few probes, but it's not really game-ending damage just yet. He's going to start to try and focus down some things there, but Runamok's army on the front needs to withdraw. I feel like Runamok feels forced to do damage, but maybe if he sieges those libs, he could do this. But, oh, no, Josh.
He's pulled the Ethernet cable out the back of the PC, man.
What a time for the Australian internet, the best internet in the world for our viewers from overseas. It is amazing over here. We actually have it's a new system. It involves 2 tin cans and a piece of wire connecting you to the local internet exchange. It works pretty well.
See, I've plugged my internet into a stale ham sandwich, and that's how I connect. It's been running for me for the last 7 or 8 years. But it might be time to upgrade to like maybe a turkey with cranberry sandwich, like maybe even a sub.
You get much better conductivity.
Yeah, I mean, it conducts a lot better if you have a little bit more rye in there, I think. I'm pretty sure that's how science works.
Yeah, bringing you guys not just the best of strategic plays here, but also, of course, our scientific knowledge of how the world works. StarCraft is nothing if not an educational game. And no doubt we will be able to use that amazing feature we didn't have for the first couple of years of StarCraft 2, Recover from Replay, where we can basically pick up from exactly where we left off or a few seconds before. It's not going to be like, what was it, the GSTL and so on back in the day, where it's like, you know, you drop in the final game of a deciding team league match and it's like, well, I guess we just have to restart, guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of new fans for StarCraft 2 out there, and a lot of new viewers, and a lot of people maybe didn't experience those Wings of Liberty days, but that was the case before we had Heart of Swarm resume from replay in 2013. From 2010, for 3 years, we had the admin had to make the choice based on that game, whether it had to be a regame or another player won. So yeah, we'd have to sit here while the admin goes, yeah, Fuely wins, or regame. And I feel like a regame would be
for the admin as
super. Well. Oh god! And it was horrifying for the admin because even if they made what seemed like the right choice by them through their rule book, it's like then the players have 1 or 2 things to say as well because their admin is rarely a pro gamer, and the pro gamer will be like, "Well, no, actually, no, this is the situation."
Yeah, we'll be getting that one fixed back up here, of course. No doubt, just a very quick outage there for Runamok. But a very action-packed TVP. Now, I actually do feel like the big opportunity was definitely when that triple drop went across the map. I think if that took out the 4th base, stayed a little bit more contained and together, it would have created more problems for Fuely, for the Protoss players. So I definitely think it's been another game where Runamok hasn't really felt like he's done much damage on Fuely's side of the map. But if we think about the big points where Runamok's kind of gotten damage, it's been overextensions from the Protoss. It's been Zealots taking massive Widowmine hits. The attack on the Planetary, there's times where that pays off huge. You take out the Planetary, you pull back, you evacuate. But in that case, I think there was a few too many Protoss units that went down in trade for it. So definitely feels like it was pretty close, but with the upgrade lead, with Storm out, I think it's a situation where the Protoss kind of bounces back if the game calms down. So if it kind of lulls for about 30 seconds, I think Fuely kind of just reestablishes tech, takes a 5th, and then gets back to having full map control again. And if we think about the tech, I don't think there was a second starport or a fusion core. So like range liberators, the big late game Terran unit against Protoss were just nowhere near being part of the equation. I think that was Runamok's big problem and why he needs to try and finish the game pretty quickly or really slow it down and buy some time.
Yeah, slow it way down. I feel like you're absolutely right. Like you have a chance to do that with Terran if you have that second starport and a good number of Liberators out. If you had like advanced ballistics or something like that, I could certainly see that being a possibility for Runamok. It feels like it's going to be one of those games where we recover from replay and it's just going to end within a few seconds. But then again, Fuely has shown in this game on Acid Plant that he has overextended once or twice. Maybe he overextends and the Terran takes a good engagement. Then all of a sudden we're in a situation where it's very, very realistic for the Terran to actually tie up the series. But at the moment, I would definitely say Fuely, at the point of recovery that we're going to jump into the game here, is certainly wearing the daddy pants in this game. He's in charge.
Yeah, looks like we're getting into a lobby now, so that should be hosted up quickly, which is nice. Yeah, it's always a little bit jolting for both players there. Of course, Fuely is up a game, so I really would like Runamok to win this game just because I'm greedy. I like more StarCraft games. I would like a game 3. I'd also like to see how Runamok adapts because I feel like it's been two forms of turtley, turtle into a 2-base all-in, into turtle into something else. So I feel like maybe there's a little bit of fear in Runamok's mind. I think maybe if he survives this one, gets to the game 3, he's got to, go for broke and pull out a proxy second barracks, concussive shell marauder marine bunker all in, or, one of these cyclone marauder all ins, or just do something aggressive, put something on the other side of the map, make Fuely react to you. Because so far it's been all Terran on the defense, all Protoss on the offense.
Yeah, it certainly has. He's done all right defending, though. By that I mean he hasn't died. Runamok's his drops unfortunately haven't found a whole lot of damage. There was that one drop before the game disconnected there, where Runamok was getting like a handful of probe kills. But before the game dropped, Fuely was still up by like 30 or 40 workers. Like it's a dire situation for the Terran for sure.
But mules, Maynard. Each mule is worth 36 workers, right? No.
I remember that. It's like, but if a Terran's on 3 orbitals, are they ever actually dead? If it's 15 SCVs against 80 probes, are they actually dead? They have mules, man. All their gases are saturated when they have 15 workers. What are you talking about?
That's all you need, man. That's all you need.
All right.
I mean, of course, there is that rare case where there are 8 orbitals ready. And sorry. Okay, my game's bugged. Let me fix that up. Where you can actually drop mules endlessly, but that is a mythical scenario. Sorry for holding up the thing there. Just going to get back in. My BattleNet decided to
it was you.
Have a bit of a joke there. Yeah.
Having a laugh.
Have a bit of a laugh.
BattleNet acting like a right geese. Speaking of a bad UK, we have got a New Zealander who lives in the EUs at the moment that's in this bracket. Shout out to Risky. Looking forward to how he does in this one. Nearly qualified last season, so the dream is alive.
All right, I can't get into this lobby, so I will quickly restart my client and be about 20 seconds, hopefully back.
Big. Apologies. You're killing me, man. You're killing me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I'm on stage like by myself, and I've got like one microphone into a quiet equi room, like someone's coughing in the background, and I'm like the microphone's feeding back, and I'm like,
you're like, what was it? It was like Jarrett Kale's job at IAM Cologne, where it's like, all right, so here's a bunch of people who are just sitting down because there's free seats here. In the middle of Gamescom, and now you're going to go and tell them like super inside hardcore, gaming jokes, which you need to be kind of a pure ownage or esports fans to get, whilst also trying to get people excited for giveaways, and everyone's just kind of sitting there looking at him. And I'm like, ooh, tough crowd.
Tough crowd. I feel like I'm on stage. There's this one guy in the back that's just like, audio DSIC. I'm like, all right.
Sorry, guys. It's because we're from the future, to be honest. So
the best comment that I saw in chat was someone saying that the reason there's a delay is because they're translating Australian into English live.
That's just how the universal translator works, guys. Like, sorry, can't quite get the mouths to sync up there. Just changes the technology.
The technology is amazing, actually. To live translate like that, sick.
All right, we are recovering game, guys. Apologies. So, we did have a quick outage there on Runamok's connection, but we also had that followed up by my inability to join a lobby 3 times in a row, and finally had to restart my client to get that one going. But we've got it going now. My own technical difficulties as a caster are done, and we are about halfway through recovering that replay. So we'll be in just about 1 minute's time. Once the players are ready, they've no doubt probably rewound a few seconds, because there's a good chance before it actually detected that he'd cut out, there was already an issue. So things like those 2 Liberators flying in and deciding to engage the Colossi in anti-air mode, probably not a conscious decision from Runamok, something I'm sure he's going to be adjusting and trying to siege those up, because they could potentially turn that fight. There's that weird middle ground fight going out in the middle of the map right now. Very excited to see how this one goes.
Yeah, me too, man. I hope it doesn't just end like we were saying earlier. It is kind of in a risk of that happening at the moment because of the advantageous position of Fuely, and we're kind of just expecting, like, unless Fuely super overextends, loses his Colossi and like a bunch of his charge lots for not much damage, I don't feel like, that is going to lose this game. And it looks like it's heading towards a 2-0, but God, I just want, I would love that game 3. I just really, really want that game 3. I want Runamok to pull a miracle here and just destroy the Protoss army without taking too much bio losses.
Yeah, in these small fights, sometimes Marauders against Stalkers and Colossi suddenly just win games and look really, really powerful. Add a few Zealots in there, the equation suddenly changes. So we will be back in game in just a moment. And this is going to be very, very interesting to see where this one goes in the next few seconds.
Mm-hmm. All right, looks like Fuely's in. Runamok also here. He says that doesn't look right.
Yeah, so he might be requesting a restart from slightly earlier. Don't know.
All right, well, there's what Runamok believes is his chances. I mean, we're kind of Runamok thinks that, well, I mean, what Fuely's basically asking here is like, if do you want that extra couple seconds? So, yeah, when the lag dropped there, looked like Runamok actually, was lagging when he messed up the Liberators. Oh, we could always go back. I mean, it's not the biggest of deals, right? Fuely was still in a good spot there.
Yeah, I'm sure the admins will decide there, of course, and figure that out. They'll be working on that behind the scenes. So, yeah, we'll see exactly what goes on there.
Yeah,
it's
we
always
don't have
tough
the ability to chat to the players, unfortunately.
Well, I am being entertained by the chatters in the audience nonetheless. But yeah, we are going to be launching into more games here as we progress. So this is, of course, our very first series of today. But lots of money on the line, lots of hope while these kind of players figure this out. Fuely is already up 1 game, and we'll see exactly how this one closes out. We're going to launch into it. All right. Let's go.
All right, and, well, I mean, Runamok has lost his army, and he is down and out. Now, he doesn't, he has an army still. A good chunk of it is in the main of Fuely killing probes, though. 17 have gone down now. So he's got that robotics facility getting picked off, which is actually quite nice. Fuely setting in some more Stalkers to defend here. Runamok's going to pick up and get out of there. He's already burned Blink, but he does have enough shots to get that medevac in the end.
That +3, oh my lord, that makes a big difference. I was like, there's no way 3 Stalkers kill a medevac. It's like, oh wait, those are +3 Stalkers. Yeah, they do. They just took that down in next to no shots. There's still that Observer for Fuely seeing everything Runamok does. But Runamok does have a 4th backup. He's got some units. He's not dead. He's on the ground, but he could get back up.
I feel like when you recover from replay like this, it's tough, right? Because if you had like some barracks being produced and something like that, you're like, oh yeah, I was making those, and you got to re-hotkey those, and set your rally points. You see that Runamok's got a couple unadded barracks there by the 3rd base, so there's a little bit of a sign of that. And he certainly probably wants tech labs on those bad boys, like he's up against Colossus, High Templar. And here comes this attack from Fuely. Now, Runamok does have an army. He does have a bit of a concave, but it's not super convincing against double Colossus with Storm and a bunch of charge lots.
Yeah, those 2 High Templar are huge. He gets one of them. Almost gets the second, but not quite. The Planetary taking a ton of damage. 1 Storm lands to zone out that bio. An EMP lands, but there's just so few Marines and Marauders left.
Yeah.
Fuely there with that 3-3 upgrade advantage takes the win. GG.
GG. So I mean, on paper there was actually a chance to run amok there, but unfortunately, it resumed from a point where he felt like he was already at a pretty bad deficit. His mindset was quite clear there through the magic of the chat, and it is tough. Even though we have that resume from replay function, it is quite tough to recollect where you were at that point of the game, because it's a very StarCraft. It's a very it's a game that flows on, you know what I mean? Like, you want to go from one thing to another. You don't want to take a big break in between, part of the late game and then the next part of the late game.
There's like an endless checklist in your brain of like different things you need to do to try and get ahead and to spend your money and to engage your opponent. And then you're constantly like reprioritizing and shuffling those around. So yeah, the moment you're disrupted, everything can fall apart. And that's part of the reason why, players are so aggressive to each other and harassing and trying to throw each other off their game, because if you can, get under the other's skin, it throws them off. But likewise, things can definitely mess up a player if they have a bit of a break in the match as well. But you know what? Fuely played that series very well. And as I said earlier, the only real times Runamok looked like he took positive engagements and kind of got edges in that game was one when Fuely really overextended with some fights. So Fuely looking very good there, strong Protoss PvT form, and we'll be going through to the next stage to face Igaz in a Protoss versus Zerg, I would imagine. So that's going to be an exciting one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've only seen Fuely play Terran, so that's the first time I've ever seen his PvT, and if he plays Igaz on my stream, it's going to be the first time I ever see his PvZ. So I'm wondering what it's going to look like. Like, maybe he's a bit of a PvT sniper and his PvZ isn't as convincing. I mean, he'll need to be pretty damn good to beat Igaz at PvZ, to put it that way. Like, Igaz is, I think, close to 6K on career, I think, or not quite there. He's definitely in the high fives. I'm not sure where he's at right now, but it's a very convincing MMR for a Korean Grandmaster. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. Well, we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, more games. Sorry about the technical difficulties in the first series, but those will get fixed as the weekend progresses. So please do stick around. Let your friends know the WCS Challenger is happening. I'm Maynard Wisby's Pig. When we come back, I'm going to bring in Zeph for a little bit of that casting action. We'll see you then.